Welcome back to the Y.E.S Fitness Longevity Podcast, where we give you insight on how to get fit, feel younger, and live better. I'm Chris from down here at Y.E.S Fitness, and thanks for tuning in. My guest that was lined up for today had to cancel at the last minute, so I'm going to kind of just run off the seat of my pants here a little bit. I don't have a huge podcast prepared, so what we're going to do is we're going to make this our Y.E.S Fitness Podcast Exercise Myths number 2. We had done a myths podcast way back, I think, in episode number 1. And today we're going to do our second myth podcast. So as we go along here, if you have a myth or a question, post it right up on Facebook, and I'll certainly do my best to give you some insight on that. So here we go. The first myth that's out there is that you need to change your exercise routine often, maybe even as often as every time you go to the gym. And there are some very famous disc programs out there that tell you that to make the body get gains, and the basis of the program is exercise changing all the time, or muscle confusion. I did a strategy session last night with a client. The strategy session is when we bring someone on board and we find out about them and they find out about us to decide whether they want to join or not. And during that strategy session, the topic of muscle confusion came up. Don't you change your exercises often to keep the muscles guessing so they don't get bored with what you're doing? Well, the first thought is that no, we don't change our muscles, or our exercises often. The muscles don't have a brain. They can't think. So how are they going to get bored, or how are they going to get confused? Muscles are muscles. They don't have brains. So you can't really get something bored or confused if it doesn't have a brain. You could get bored or confused, but your muscles can't get bored or confused. And if you get bored, you're no longer going to make gains because you're not going to push yourself. And if you get confused, you're likely to hurt yourself. If you're doing exercises that are new to you all the time, you're not going to be able to perform them well, and you're not going to be able to perform them correctly, and you're more likely to hurt yourself, and you're not going to make the gains that you want to make. For your body to improve or get better, it needs to see a workout 3 to 6 times. You need to see those exercises 3 times before you can start thinking about changing them. If you change those exercises less than 3 times, how are you going to get better at it? And if you go past 6 or 7 times, you're going to start to get bored. You're going to know what's coming. Oh yeah, I'm going to do that again today. So you just kind of lollygag through. You don't really push yourself. So the repetition range, or I should say the workout range that we like to focus on, is we try to change the workouts every 3 to 6 workouts, depending upon your progress. Because you have a program that's written and designed specifically for you, and you get to 4 or 5 workouts and you're not making any more change, you're not lifting a little bit heavier, it's not hard enough for you, yeah, we definitely need to change it. If we get to 3 workouts and we don't see anything changing, then we know it's time to change, because you're going to start to get bored. So we don't want boredom to be determined just because we think the muscles are going to get confused. We want the boredom in your mind to make sure that doesn't happen, so you don't get bored while doing your workout. Statistics will show that when someone comes to the training facility and they know what they're going to do, they know what to expect, they have an idea what their workout is going to be, they're actually going to perform better. They're actually going to perform better because of that familiarity. Oh, I can't say it today. Because they're familiar with what they're going to do. If they come to the gym and they don't know what they're going to do, if it changes every single time, if they have to look up on the whiteboard to figure out what they're going to do, how are they going to be able to perform well? Because they have to think about it. They don't know what weights they need to use. They don't know what exercises come next. So that familiarity of 3 to 6 workouts is important for you to be a better. Why do you want to do a workout that you're never going to get better at? Why are you going to do exercises you're not going to get better at? Because you're not going to confuse the muscles. Muscles can't be confused. Do a workout that you can perform and get better at. So if you are doing a squat motion and you do a lousy squat on Monday, but then we don't squat again for 2 weeks because we got to change the exercises all the time, how are you ever going to get better at a squat? You need to learn to groove that pattern. You need to do it over and over again so you get better at it. Once you get better at it, we need to change what you do. The reason for change is for your body to adapt. Changing exercises is not the most efficient way to force your body to adapt. Changing repetition ranges is. So for example, if I'm going to do a flat bench press, okay, and I decide, well, it's been a workout or two, I'm now going to change it to an incline bench press. So I'm going to change it up so my body doesn't get used to what I'm doing. So now I'm going to change it to a decline press. And now next workout, I'm going to change it to a dumbbell press. The next workout, I'm going to change it to an alternating dumbbell press. How are you ever going to know how much weight to use? Because you're changing all the time. And how is your body ever going to get better at it? Because it's changing all the time. So if you were to do that, you're never going to get better at those exercises. And your body's not going to change if you're always staying in a 10 repetition range. So I'm going to do 10 reps, but now I'm going to do it on a dumbbell press. And now next 10 reps, I'm going to do it on an alternating dumbbell press. And next workout, I'm going to do a bench press with 10 reps. Again, your body's not going to change or adapt. The best thing to change your body is to change repetition range. You'd be much better off if you were doing a dumbbell press for 3 to 6 workouts at, let's say, 12 repetitions, and you actually stayed with that dumbbell bench press for 3 to 6 workouts, but you made it heavier and only did 10 repetitions, did that for 3 to 6 workouts, and then you decided, you know what, I need to change again, so I'm going to continue to do my dumbbell bench press, except now I'm going to make it heavier and bring it down to 8 reps. That is going to force the body to get better and to change, rather than just randomly change. We'll make Joe do it. I'm back. We were cut off by Comcast with poor internet connection. It happens quite often out here in the sticks, but typically it happens when we have poor weather and it's beautiful out today. So we're not quite sure how we're going to merge this together and get this on the internet, but I'm going to pick up where I left off. And we were talking about varying our exercise programs daily rather than doing them in a makes sense pattern of changing every 3 to 6 workouts. So another point to that is, as much as you don't want to change all the time, you don't want to continue to do the same thing all the time. You know, that person that goes down into his basement, he's been doing the same workout for the last decade or 2 decades. How can he possibly be making change if he's doing the same thing over and over and over and over again? That would be like reading at the 5th grade level over and over and over again, never trying to get better and read at the 6th grade level or the 7th grade level. So that is an issue right there. So you do need to change. You just don't need to change every single workout. That's not the most efficient way to do it. Plus, like I was saying a minute ago, if you're changing constantly, how can you possibly know what weight to use? How can you know what weight you used 3 weeks ago on the dumbbell press? Maybe you can remember that. Maybe you can't, but I know it will be very difficult for me as a coach to know my clients or even myself if you're not tracking it. So it's very important to track your workouts so you can see this progress. So you can see that I've been doing this now for a few workouts and I'm able to do my full repetition range. I need to make it a little bit harder. I need to add some weight. So you know what? I can't add any more weight. Maybe this is the time. This is when I need to decide to change the workout because I've done this 3 or 4 times, 5, maybe 6 times. So that is exercise myth number 1. You do not and should not vary your resistance training program every single time you go to the gym. Maybe not even your metabolic workouts either. Let yourself get a little bit used to it. You'll be able to perform better. You'll see better results by doing that. The next myth is lifting heavy weights is going to bulk my body up like a bodybuilder, especially for women. This is just a straight up myth. It's been out there for a long time. We don't quite hear it as often as we used to hear it, but we still come through the door, have people come through the door and say, I don't want to lift heavy. I don't want to lift a lot of weight. It's going to make me big. It's going to make me bulky. And that's not what I want. I want to get toned. Certainly you want to get toned. I can understand that. But females generally do not have the hormones to get big and bulky. They're not going to build the muscle mass that a man can build because they just don't have the testosterone. Sure, there are always outliers out there that maybe have more of a propensity to get larger than another person or another woman. But generally speaking, the majority of women, if they lift heavy weights or if they lift weights, are not going to get big and they're not going to get bulky. They're not going to build enough muscle mass that's going to truly make them look round-shouldered or big biceps or things like that. You can get a more defined look by decreasing some fat, by getting some fat off your body, but that's a subject for another time. We're just generally talking about that really bigger, bulkier looking woman. If you do see that, like you might see some of that if you see things like the CrossFit Games or that type of woman that's big and round and bulky. Well, there might be a couple of things that went on there. Number one, they may have injected themselves or taken some supplements that help them to get that large, because it's not generally going to happen. Two, they have been working hard at the gym day in and day out. That's their job. Or let's say for a fitness model or a bodybuilding model, that's their job. That's what they go to the gym for. They have programs written specifically to do that. They lift a lot often, and they have a specific diet, and they do it for years to be able to look the way they look. If you're a female, and even if you're not over 40, but if you're over 40, which is generally what we coach people that are over 40 years old, and you lift some heavy weights, and the program is written correctly for you, you are not going to get big and bulky. What's going to happen is you're going to build some muscle mass, enough muscle mass to help you trim down and get smaller, actually, and get some fat off of your body. I'm just looking at my notes. Remember, I told you that we kind of did this off the cuff since our guest wasn't able to make it here today. And to think about what it takes to become big and bulky, you need to have a very specific program written for you that you need to follow over a long period of time for that to have a possibility of occurring. And if you do end up in a coaching center and they want you to lift heavy weights and you're scared that you're going to get bigger, take a measurement. Take a measurement about your biceps or around your hips, or a point where you know you can duplicate it again the next time, and see what happens. Because I'll pretty much guarantee you that you're not going to get larger. You're going to get smaller by lifting those heavier weights. Many times, especially with social media now, we'll see pictures of women very bulky or very cut or very shaped, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook, or you might see it on TV or in a magazine. Probably in a magazine has been doctored with. If it's on the internet, the person probably does this for a living, and they've peaked at a point where this is how they look when everything is taken care of, everything they're getting ready for, maybe a pageant or something like that. And they take a bunch of pictures, and those are the pictures that they use and you see all year long. But when you see them off of the internet, or maybe not in a magazine or in pictures, and you see how they generally walk around, you'll see that they're probably deflated, that they're not as cut, they're not as buff, they're not as round as they are in these pictures, because they've done specific things to get to that point. So Don't think that lifting heavy weights is going to make you big and bulky, because it's not going to make you big and bulky. If you're doing a bodybuilding program, if you're doing a lot of isolated work, if you're doing a real muscle building program, maybe possibly that could happen to you. But I know that if you're working out at our facility, we mostly train movement patterns. We don't train we don't train specific muscles. We train movement patterns. And if we train movement patterns, we're not going to get that same hypertrophy type effect that you might have if you're doing a lot of isolated work of just bicep curls or on a bicep machine, or tricep work or tricep machines, things like that, where it's just isolated on that specific muscle, trying to just get it pumped as best you can. If you're working at a facility where they do programs that are based on movement patterns, it will help trim your body. It will help you get toned. It'll help you lose fat. It's also going to keep things in proportion, and it'll help you look trimmer, smaller, and better. So I want to move on to myth number 3, which this comes up often in our coaching sessions, especially in the beginning of our coaching sessions when someone first comes on board with us, or if someone is part of our strategy sessions. And they always inquire about sit-ups. Am I going to have to do a lot of sit-ups? Are you going to make me do sit-ups? And I tell them we never do sit-ups. We don't do any sit-ups in our facility. Sit-ups are, first of all, inefficient, and second, they're not good for your back, your lumbar spine. So the first thing to think about is that the rectus femoris, the rectus abdominis, right down here in the center of your body, your abs, what people think are your abs. Those muscles are not designed to get larger like other flexion muscles, your biceps or the back or your hamstrings. When those get worked, they pop up a little bit, but that's not how abs work. It's not the type of muscle it is. Those muscles are designed to firm and stabilize, not really hypertrophy out. The six-pack is not because his abdominal muscles got bigger. It's more likely because they took the fat off of the body and they got that lean. We all have a six-pack. It's just the package that we have over it. So the way that the core is designed to work is designed to stabilize. And it's not just your abs. It's your whole pelvis region. That is your core. And think about if you do a lot of sit-ups. A lot of people say, oh, I do sit-ups, it bothers my back. Because it's not good for your back. Famed back researcher Stuart McGill, he'll tell us that sit-ups actually are no good for your back. Design is not designed to go under what we call flexion, or that rounding of the back under load continuously over and over and over again. It actually will damage your back. So we never do sit-ups. We never do crunches. We don't do any work like that. We do work to anti-rotate, anti-move, to stabilize, whether it's anti-extension or flexion. If you think of your core as like a cylinder or a can, or better yet, I heard this the other day from my buddy Joe out in Erie Fitness, Pennsylvania, Erie Fitness Two Guns Training System. He had a great analogy that I saw the other day, that if you think of your spine as a slinky, so if you take a slinky and it's sitting as a cylinder, it's very strong, okay? But as soon as you start to lengthen that slinky out, okay, and it opens up, that's exactly what happens to your spine. Your spine opens up and it's no longer strong because of that space. So we want to develop the strength in a fashion straight like a cylinder, like a slinky. If you do a lot of sit-ups and you make the front of the slinky stronger than the back of the slinky, or the front of a cylinder or can stronger than the back of the cylinder, and you put a load on it, the back of the cylinder is going to break under load, whereas the front of the cylinder is going to stay up. Next thing you know, you have an issue. You have a back problem. You have an issue with your body. So you don't want to think about training the abs old school, training the abs in sit-ups. And You might go to a facility and whoever the instructor is, the trainer or the coach, is still doing sit-ups, sit-ups on the ball, sit-ups on the ground, whatever it might be, twisting motions. You should question that. You should question that coach. And even if they've been in the business for 10 years, 20 years, they've been teaching for a long time, what have they done to stay current with the most current research? What have they done to find out what is best for your body now? Because if they're doing what they did 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you need to find yourself another coach, because they're not staying current with the most research, and they're not telling you what the best way is, the most efficient way to train your body to get results and not get hurt. So if I just talked about doing sit-ups, I don't want you going to the gym now and going doing a lot of back extension work. Because if you're doing Superman, where you're face down on the ground and you're lifting both arms and both legs, that's not good for your spine. So again, if a coach or a trainer is having you do that, you need to question that. You need to find out, hey, what have you been doing to stay on top of the industry? Because that just is not good for you. If you're doing scorpions, where you're laying on your stomach and throwing your leg back, that's not good for your back. So think of training it as a cylinder, as something that's going to stabilize, that's not going to allow your body to twist, not going to allow your body to flex forward or arch back. It allows your body to transfer power between your lower body and upper body and lower body. It's an anti-movement muscles. That's what they are. And our final one for the day is that something is better than nothing. Something is better than nothing. Now, this does come out of my mouth sometimes. I will say, hey, you know what? Let's just get something in. It's better than doing nothing. That certainly is the case if you're doing the right thing. So if you're going to go to the gym and you don't have a lot of time, and typically when you get to the gym, your program calls for you to do 3 sets. You say, I just don't have a lot of time today. I really can only get 1 set in. Well, let's get 1 set in, because something is better than nothing. If that program's been designed and written specifically for you. But something is not better than nothing if it's not a good program. Something is not better than nothing if it's not good, if it's going to hurt you. So it could be as simple as going on a treadmill and working out on the treadmill. Well, I did some treadmill work. Something is better than nothing. But what's your goal? If your goal is to lose fat and you just went on the treadmill and walked for 3 miles an hour, that necessarily is not going to do anything for you. If your goal was to just be healthy and you went and walked on the treadmill and you got your heart rate up a little bit, yeah, that is something is better than nothing. So you need to be very specific when you're saying is something better than nothing. We need to make sure that whatever you're doing is efficient, is something that you should be doing, and you're just doing a little bit less of it. Not just, well, I'm going to do something. Well, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to do the circuit today. And I've been going to the gym and doing that circuit for the last 5 years. And, well, something is better than nothing. Just like the original tip we talked about today. It's not better than nothing. You're wasting your time. Probably not going to hurt yourself because you're probably not working that hard anymore. So something is not better than nothing. Going to the gym and working super hard because you need to get something in just to get something in, and you're going to injure yourself, something was not better than nothing. So if you're going to do something, make sure that it's planned, it's something you should be doing, and then something is better than nothing. And our final one, I had one more. So remember, something is not always better than nothing. Final one is that I need to get in shape before I come to the gym. I need to get in shape before I can join, which is a little weird to say that, because what are you supposed to be doing when you go to the gym or when you're going to the coaching center? You're supposed to be going there to get in shape. You don't need to get in shape to come to our facility, because we're going to design a program specific to you. We're going to write a program to your limitations, and we're going to base it upon what your goals are going to be. So we're here to help you get in shape. So you don't need to get in shape before you join here. But if you're heading off to a boot camp, or if you're heading off to some high-intensity workout or maybe CrossFit, you might think about getting in shape before you go there, because it's going to be high intensity. It's going to be hard. They're going to push you real hard. And